Welcome to the Beyond Sunday podcast, brought to you by the Azalea City Church of Christ and your hosts, Terry Cagle and Justin Barnes. Join us as we discuss faith-based living.
Hey everyone, it's great to see you again, or great to have you tune in again. Justin and Terry back for week 3 now. Episode 3 is coming to you, and we are certainly thankful for this platform. We're certainly thankful for all the feedback, the encouragement you've given. The last few weeks, we've talked about community as we started this podcast. Again, the podcast is Living Beyond Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. Knowing that everything is critical on Sunday, but Monday's coming and the rest of the days as well. So we talked about being a part of that community. And then last week, we talked about making sure that we've got community over convenience, and we're not giving in and letting the world and conveniences disciple us, I should say. This week, it's along those lines, but we really want to give you practical stuff. That's been some things that people have given us feedback. They want some stuff that they can chew on and be able to go with. And so this week, Justin's going to introduce it, but I just want you to know that winning is what's focused on everybody's mind. And so, Justin, why don't you tell us about what we're going to talk about this week?
There is no better thing than community. And I love the way, I love the way we started. I hope everybody else does too. And I think we just continue to build off of that, because there is no greater institution than the church.
That's why the church was established.
It's exactly right. And the church is all about community. And we should not allow culture to influence or infiltrate what we do as Christians. And sometimes we do, and there are some benefits to adapting to our culture today versus the culture in the first century and all. But we need to make sure that as Christians, we celebrate the success of other people.
Wow.
Yeah. Instead of, our culture today is all about competition. It's like, what am I going to do to better myself? Or if I can't be better than you, how am I going to cut you down so that I can be elevated over you, right? And that's just not how the church should be.
And unfortunately, that has crept into the church from time to time. And I think it's probably been a discouragement for some. And they have, left the church. Yeah. They've left that community because they've been discouraged. And they come to the place that they thought they could get help. But then somebody, criticized them in a certain way or what have you. And what we really want to talk about is getting wins spiritually.
That's right.
And getting wins spiritually, that might mean in our marriage. Mm-hmm. Certainly I want to win the day of being a good husband. Parenting, I joke this, that I don't know that I've ever won Dad of the Year, but I'm sure trying to have wins every day.
Sure.
Certainly at work, that people every day, if we love what we do, but not everybody loves what they do. And so there needs to be that mindset, hey, today it's not going to defeat me. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have a win. And we could talk about money. We could talk about friendships, certainly talk about spiritual, but the wins that people look at in life, I think that mindset of, we've all said it in coaching, if you don't win first, you've come in last. There's no second, right? And I think if we carry that over in our spiritual walks, there's going to be a lot of failures.
And I think the Bible contradicts that saying. And I get the same, and I get us motivating our children or the kids that we coach to
you're going to play the game you want to win.
Yeah, right? I mean, obviously, we want to win championships. We want to win the games. But most importantly, our Christian walk, and that's what I love about God, is God doesn't ever demand our perfection. Now, obviously, He wanted it. He desired when He created Adam and Eve and placed them in the Garden of Eden, everything was perfect. Mm-hmm. But when sin entered the world, nothing was ever going to be perfect again from a creation standpoint.
That's right.
And now, that's what makes the magnitude of the sacrifice of Jesus so great, is that He defied all odds and lived the perfect life, left the perfect throne of heaven, and came to be tempted as in all points as we are, to endure all of that and to ultimately die for our sins and defeat the grave, so that we could have the hope of eternal life. So God never really demands our perfection. Now, obviously, He wants it, but what He does is He wants to make sure that we are choosing the proper direction, that we're walking towards Him every day. So like here on our Beyond Sunday podcast is we want you to know this is the title of our episode 3 podcast, but this is really a tagline that we want you to win. And we want to be the encouragers for people every week, beyond the pulpit, beyond our auditorium. When we walk out of here, we want to go and be light in the world, to encourage people, to share success with people, to encourage people on their journey, and understand that it's not about being the first across the finish line, and spiritually speaking, it's about crossing the finish line.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need to remember is most important, is we want you to be successful financially, physically, socially, all these things, but that's not ultimately what we want success from, is we want people to be successful spiritually.
That's right. And really, you don't want to be successful in those things if you're not successful spiritually.
What does it profit the man who gains the entire world yet loses his own soul, right?
Exactly. Jesus said we can't serve two masters. And so, if we're not careful, we can allow the world to dictate us. And it goes back to week 1. We can allow the world to say, hey, no, you don't need those people. Do it yourself. Get it your way. And then that can isolate us, and we can choose all the conveniences over that community. And then we win. Yeah, we might win. We might have big bank accounts. We might have big success. We might have big promotions. Our children may do all kinds of great things. But if we lose our soul, we've lost everything. I said it before, and I say it a lot. If we miss heaven, we missed it all. And that's what it is. And we want you to know, whether you're watching, whether you're listening, please hit that subscribe button. A little plug there.
Like, share.
But if you are listening, you are watching, Justin and I want you to succeed. Succeed in Jesus Christ. And some of you may find yourself in a state of defeat. And so what we're going to do this podcast, we're going to give you some things. We're going to make it practical. We're going to help you along the way, and just look at not jumping in all the way to the finish line, but going through the obstacles that may stand in the way and giving you some practical things to help with that. Justin, what does winning spiritually look like?
To me, ultimately, now, we can look at it on a micro level and a macro level.
Sure.
Macro level is Revelation 2 and verse 10 is live faithful unto death, so that I can receive a crown of righteousness. Some translations say a crown of life. Like that is the macro level of winning spiritually. Now, if we start to take the microscope and look down on a daily basis or a weekly basis, I think there's multiples, and we've shared these now in other podcasts or previous episodes. But I think that is making sure we're studying every day, we're praying every day, we're getting that cliched saying, but kind of no days off. Like I'm getting 1% better.
Days,
I'm getting 1% better every day. I'm just striving to be more like Jesus. And when thinking of that, I have a question to ask him. I'm going to actually answer the question with maybe a couple other questions.
Okay.
Is what should our posture, what should our attitude be towards one another? Do we genuinely want people to grow closer to God? Do we genuinely want people to become more like Jesus? That, again, stacking good days, 1% better every day. Do we genuinely want people to discover their purpose, to overcome their struggles? And we're talking about this, a lot of the reason for us doing this is to help encourage people on their spiritual journeys, but their mental, folks who might be struggling with mental health issues, right? Things that we don't even know about. But do we genuinely, as Christians, want to have the conversations, preventative conversations, before having the retroactive conversations? Okay, do we want people to overcome their struggles, and do we want people to finish their race faithfully?
And I think with that, sometimes that's a hard question to ask ourselves. And so I think sometimes we shy away from it.
Yeah, I agree.
For instance, in my class on Sunday, we're talking about, I entitled it Dangerous Prayers. And I don't want you to think that they're dangerous prayers, but they can be dangerous prayers if we pray them and we don't want the answer to them.
Correct.
For instance, when David prayed in Psalm 139, search me, O God.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're asking to do is search ourselves right now. Am I an encourager? It comes down to this. Am I an encourager or am I a discourager?
That's right.
Am I rooting for people to succeed or am I laughing at them? And you might say, oh, I'm not doing that. But sometimes I think if we're honest with ourselves, we're cheering when that person doesn't succeed. And there is nothing in Jesus Christ that says that. There is nothing that says that we should tear people down rather than build people up. And I always try to look, and I don't do anything perfectly. So podcasts are for me. Lessons are for me, just like they are for everyone out there. But I try to, if somebody's just coming at me negatively, I try to just ask a question very just gently and very just to the point, but not just to cause a fight or anything, but to ask it positively, to make it look. And there was a time in my life when I was a very negative person, but I told y'all Sunday that whenever this comes out, it was this past Sunday, Philippians 1:12, Paul said there, I want you to know, brethren, the things that happened to me have actually turned out for the furtherance or the advancement of the gospel. And there's this laundry list of things that happened to Paul. And there were some that were cheering for that to happen to Paul. There were some arresting him because he was doing good things. But Paul still looked at it like, hey, these were all victories. And so I think really what it comes down to, am I an encourager? Am I rooting? Am I cheering people on spiritually?
Glad you said cheering on. That just drives right to Hebrews 12. And listen, if we make it past episode 3 to like 4 and 5 and one day maybe 50 and we get into the hundreds, you guys are going to hear Hebrews 12 a lot.
It's one of our favorites.
One of our favorites. And for so many reasons. Okay. And look, I'm going to be honest. I think we've already shared it, but I don't recall. So you probably have already heard it. Hebrews 12 and just those first 3 verses where the Hebrew writer says, therefore, kind of going back to chapter 11, the Hall of Fame of Faith, all these people that by faith, survived all the temptations of this world. No, they were not perfect, but they are there for an example for us.
Right.
The Hebrew writer says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin that so easily entangles us or ensnares us, trips us up, and let us run the race with endurance.
That's
focusing or looking to Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and now seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Right? It's important because I think a couple of things. We look at the cloud of witnesses, and I do believe that cloud of witnesses are the ones that were referenced in Hebrews 11. That in my mind, I like to think of folks like my grandmother and my grandfather, who I believe are sitting at the feet of God and of Jesus and are cheering us on of like, Justin, I know there are some tough days. I know you might be going through this, but I believe in you. That's what I like to think, okay? And certainly interpret. And I think we can interpret that from Hebrews 12. But I also believe that we can be a part of that cloud of witnesses, so to speak. Obviously, we haven't finished our Christian walk. We haven't finished our lives, but we need to be in that cheering section, or at least along the journey with people, cheering them on, encouraging them, picking them up, helping them take the weight off of their shoulders. That's scriptural as well. But what the Hebrew writer says there, and he makes it personal. Let us lay aside. Let us run the race with endurance, looking to Jesus. My son's in the 4th grade, going into the 4th grade, playing tackle football for the first time.
Can't wait to watch it.
It's awesome to watch. They're learning. But when these kids are running their sprints for conditioning after, a lot of times, and I pointed it out to them, they're looking left and right, trying to see, like, am I beating somebody? Am I coming in first? Or, who's ahead of me? Who's behind me? And that's dangerous in running, of course, because it could cause you to run not a straight line. It could cause you to trip and fall, stumble. I tell them, hey, when we run sprints, it's not a team thing. It's not a competitive thing. It is, but you're not competing against other people. You're competing against yourself.
Sure.
Just run it to the best of your ability,
Sure.
and then the next sprint do the same. Our Christian walk is like that. We said last time on the podcast that Satan wants us to be distracted. He
Absolutely.
is striving to make us, just distracted, take our focus, attention off God. This is what the Hebrew writer's telling us is, let go of the things that are in your past. Those are weighing you down.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? Like, God has forgiven you of your sins. He remembers them no more. He wants you to run the race solely focused on Jesus Christ, who is the author and who is the perfecter of our faith. He is the beginning of it, and he finished it. He wrote the entire book from beginning to end. He was there with God in creation. He was there on the cross. He was there after the grave. So all of our faith rests right in Jesus Christ. Yes, we can help each other along our path and our journey, bear one another's burdens. But I need to make sure that my sole focus and attention is on the finish line where Jesus is waiting with open arms, waiting to receive me.
Going to your story about Grayson and the sprints, both of my children, we raised them to be competitive people. And so when we used to do field day at Mobile Christian, and they would do, sack races, but then they'd have a 50-yard dash and a 100-yard dash. And I told them both, I'm going to be at the finish line. And if you will just look at me the whole time, you will win. Mm-hmm. Because all those other little kids are wanting to see mama and grandma and everything else. Well, we got some blue ribbons out of that, I can't say that they always won their races after that, but at least at one time they did. And I think that I've heard this before, especially describing Hebrews 12, that at the Special Olympics, which, is a beautiful scene because you have those who are struggling with some handicaps, whether it be mental, whether it be physical, and they get the chance to compete. But they all win medals, or they get medals. But I hear that the most important people are the ones who are at the finish line. They call them huggers. Mm-hmm. And when the gun fires, those Special Olympics participants, they're running to the finish line, but they're really running towards the hug. Mm-hmm. What if we think about, man, when I come tonight, this is a Wednesday, we're doing this, I'm going to get those hugs, that encouragement. Mm-hmm. Sunday, I'm going to get those hugs, that encouragement. But if I don't feel that, then community's not a place I want to be, and that's sad. I think the way that it's said today, Justin, is people keeping receipts. If somebody is keeping a receipt, so to speak, or remembering a wrong, listen, I know we're not God. God can remember our sins no more. How he does that, I have no idea, but there's a lot of things about God that I'm just glad he does and I can't understand because my mind won't comprehend it. So if somebody has done something that maybe has caused some shame, or maybe they've slipped, or maybe they've struggled, if they come back or they come, the first thing in our mind shouldn't be, well, we got, remember what they did, remember those things that they struggled with. Sure. And just like we're looking for them to fail. And I certainly don't want to live that way. That's nothing about that is Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. In fact, in John 8, one of my favorite stories, and I know we've referenced this a little bit, the adulterous woman, those men came to stone that woman to death that day. She'd been caught in the act of adultery, and they came to stone her to death, not really because they were against her and the sin. They were really just trying to catch Jesus. But you remember after he drew in the dirt a couple times, they put the rocks down and they left. And this Jesus with the woman, he could have stoned her. He was without sin. But he met her where she was. And instead of now he told her, don't go and do this anymore. But he met her where she was, and he asked her, he said, where are your accusers? I'm not going to accuse you. I'm not the one that's going to condemn you. I'm the one that's going to help you. And aren't we supposed to be like Jesus?
Let he who is without sin cast the first stone, right? And
Yeah.
and I think it's important. And I don't think we need to get lost in this, but it was from the oldest to the youngest they started dropping their stones. It's almost like the older ones maybe had more sin in their life or more experience. Maybe they had a little bit more compassion. Nobody had compassion before Jesus said that, but maybe they started to realize, you know what, I do have some struggles.
Yeah.
And
maybe he drew their sins that they had committed in the dirt. Who knows?
Probably was many, wasn't it? But they all, like you said, they all walked away, and he looks at her and said, woman, where are your accusers? Neither, like I said, neither do I condemn you. And I think that's important for, we're hopefully going to reach a cast a wide net, reach a lot of folks here. Is when you think of your windshield versus your rearview mirror in your car. Windshield is much larger, right? Because I need to see where I'm going. It's important to see where I'm going, and I don't really need to spend a lot of time looking in the rearview mirror behind me. That's the same way for us spiritually. There's a reason that windshield is larger. We don't need to live our lives. And I think that's what the Hebrew writer was trying to get across is don't live your lives just looking in the past. Jesus says that about ones that are, you're not fit for the kingdom if you put your hand to the plow. Or if I'm starting to plant a row of corn and I start looking back, it's the same with the runners running the race. My roads are going to be all over the place. I'm not fit if I spiritually spending my whole life looking at all the maybe the bad decisions that I've made, maybe the times that I didn't encourage people. Lay all that aside. Let go of it all. Let's keep our attention focused to Jesus getting better every day, being more like him every day, but then looking around to see who we can encourage along the way, help along the way. Because ultimately, we should, as Christians, want people to win.
Absolutely. And in Luke 17:32, there's a 3-word sermon that Jesus preaches there, and it's remember Lot's wife. And it's exactly about what we're talking about right now, letting go of those things. And people discourage Jesus, try to discourage Jesus. People have tried to discourage me in the church. I'm sure they've tried to discourage you, Justin. There have been times in my life where, certain emails and different things have gone out that, hey, maybe we need to move on from Terry. Maybe we need to do these things. And that hurts, it hurts a lot. But at the same time, that may be some of you, that somebody's hurt you in the church or something has been said or done. What we're asking is, let's start over with a clean slate today. If I've been away from God because I have been discouraged, biblically, I need to talk to that person. And by the way, I did do that when some people have, and I've known that people have done those things, and it always worked out because Jesus's way is the right way. But, you go back and you think, well, this person hurt me. Really weigh it. Is it something we can move past? Do I need to talk to them? Is it something spiritually they need to repent of? But if I've been the discourager, let's don't throw any stones right now. Let's just start over. Let's start today and let's root for people to succeed. Let's root for people to win. There are people in life that crave failure of others. If somebody makes money and somebody's bitter about it, then they're looking for everything they can. Let's not let that be in the church. The church has got to be that safe place, that refuge where we can come and be a part of that community. I do not see in the church, early church, again, we talk about being the church of the Bible, Acts 2 and following. I do not see discouraging. I see guys like Barnabas. Barnabas was an encourager. He was an encourager. They changed his name because he was such a great encourager. And I really think that we all have to strive to be that son of encouragement, that Barnabas out there.
You mentioned it earlier about the huggers. How much more would our churches grow? And ultimately, it's not about numbers, but it's about sharing the message of Christ. How much growth would we experience in church, in our various communities, in our lives and our families, if we were that? If we just, saw people through the eyes of Jesus with the same compassion and love that he had to care for them that he had, but we just encourage them along the way. Hey, you messed up today? It'd be great if I was bold enough to go up to you and say, hey, this is not you.
That's right.
But let's be better.
That's right.
Or, hey, it's okay. I still believe in you. I trust you. I know you're going to be able to do this. Life would be so much better. I look to Paul. Now, number one, Jesus Christ had it all together. Mm-hmm. He was the greatest soul winner. He is the one that could meet the needs of people that again, had that care and compassion. I would say that Paul was the second greatest soul winner.
Me too.
And he didn't have it all together all the time.
No.
I think of Philippians chapter 3. In verse 12 through 14, Paul essentially says, I press on toward the goal to win the prize. He says in verse 12, not that I've already obtained this or am already perfect, but I press on to make it my own. Mm-hmm. Paul is striving to be better. Paul is a great man of God who has gone on missionary journeys, who has, the book of, I think it's 2 Corinthians, you can correct me, maybe 1 Corinthians, but it talks about the
2 Corinthians 11.
2 Corinthians 11, the times that Paul had been shipwrecked and stoned and beaten and left for dead, and all these things that Paul imprisoned, that Paul went through for the advancement of the gospel.
Right.
And he just admits here that I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I'm still striving to pursue Christ.
Right.
Like that's the putting our feet forward, kind of being undeniable to Satan. Like, I'm not going to be denied in my Christian journey. I'm going to cross the finish line. Now, I may be limping across the finish line. I might be crawling across the finish line, but I'm going to cross the finish line.
Yeah, it does take determination.
Yep.
And as much as we're saying we want you to win, we can't do it for them.
That's right.
We can't do it for any of you. And, Justin and I, we feel like we do pretty good at doing things spiritually. We feel like we do pretty well at helping people with struggles and their mental health and different things. And so what we want to do is just along the way, try to give you things that have helped us. And we want this to be a practical podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Sunday, we're coming here. It's about God. We're going to have Bible class before that. And if you're not coming to Bible class, that's a win. Mm-hmm. Get up this coming Sunday and come. If you're not coming on Wednesday night, let's have a win. Let's go. And some of you can't, so tune in to live stream. But let's just say Sunday, it's really hard for us to say these things to you because we're running around. We got different things we're doing, and we're here to focus on God. And so here we are during the week talking about Beyond Sunday. So how can we win? How can we press on? What are some things that we can do? Well, I got 5 things, Justin, and let's just go through them real quick. This is every day. Every day, if you can do this. What's the first thing that most people do when they wake up, Justin?
Brush their teeth. But no, go to Facebook. Go to
they
social
get on their
media.
phones. Yeah.
Yep.
I do hope they brush their teeth, and that would be a win
be.
if you haven't
That's
already.
right.
Let's go ahead and brush your teeth. But they get on this right here.
Yeah.
Okay. They open it up, and listen, I got a lot of notifications right now. Some of them probably do not matter, but we get on there and we see, and listen, I'm not going to tell you I'm not guilty of it. I am as well. One of the things is I want to make sure I didn't miss any phone calls in the night if somebody's struggling or what have you. But before we grab our phone, before we get entrenched in the Facebooks of the world, the TikToks of the world, and that doom scrolling, those conveniences we talked about, let's grab God first. So first thing, the alarm goes off. You might be a snoozer. You might not. You get out of bed. Some people just jump up out of bed. I'm not that guy. I really wish I were. But we're just talking 5 minutes. Read a psalm. Read something from Proverbs. One time in my Bible class at Mobile Christian, when I was still teaching there, I was teaching seniors. It was first period. They weren't really excited to be there.
I was about to say they really wanted to be
there. They really weren't excited to be there. And so I'm starting out with Bible. And so I ask them a question, 8:15 in the morning. How much time can you give God every day? Crickets. So I said it again. Come on, guys. Let's. I know nobody wants to be here. Let's just do this. Somebody trying to be funny says, I'll give him 5 minutes. I said, okay, let's work with that. So it said, open to Psalm 23. If you open to Psalm 23, most of us probably know it by heart. 6 verses. It's going to take us 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Let's just say a minute to read that. So let's just say we take a minute to read Psalm 23, and then let's spend a couple minutes meditating in it, looking at each verse, thinking on each verse. So now we're up to 3 minutes. Now let's spend 2 minutes in prayer about that verse, asking God to help us. Think of what those 5 minutes have just done.
Those 6 verses are some of the most powerful within Scripture anyways, when you talk about God leading us and being our shepherd, and when we go through struggles, go through the valley of the shadow of death,
right.
God is there with us, his rod of staff, comfort us. Like, ooh, that's a powerful 6 verses, but you're right, just the 5 minutes being able to read it. I honestly bet if we started our day with just Psalm 23,
absolutely,
and that was all that we did. Now, ultimately, I think we would grow from that and do more.
Yeah,
do
10 minutes, 15
Yeah, but that might be the best 5 minutes of our day.
And for us to say, I don't have 5 minutes, let's don't say that. That's a defeat. We all have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We have 5 minutes that we can get up and before the world, God.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one.
Mm-hmm.
God before the world. Second thing, ask yourself, who can I encourage today? I know we've been all over that, but doesn't this world need more encouragers?
Yes.
Maybe you need to call somebody. Justin mentioned last week that on the last episode, spend time looking at people who need encouraging. Look up their number, call them, pray with them. Maybe you're not a caller. Listen, personally, I do not enjoy talking on the phone. I do it, but it's not something I enjoy. Maybe there's somebody that you can send a message to. And listen, there are all kinds of ways to get messages today. Texts, email. I guess people still do that, email.
There are people send cards.
Yeah.
I mean, but
cards.
Yeah.
Facebook Messenger, whatever it may be. But just speak life into them. Maybe there's somebody out there who's really struggling that we can speak life into.
Right.
And that's, we've been all over that. People will remember those things. Thirdly, find somebody to serve. Justin and I went to a restaurant with my children when they were little one time, and sometimes that's not a good thing. But we were in Cracker Barrel. And, Cracker Barrel has lots of things everywhere in that gift store. Yeah. And you're so nervous about your kids, especially when they're little, knocking something over and I got to pay for it or whatever.
Glass bottles with different sodas and stuff.
Right. Yeah. And so it was a long wait. And so the servant just brought us some water. And so, we just have some water there. And of course, I'm trying to make sure my kids, they're into everything or what have you. Well, all of a sudden, my son knocks over this entire cup of water and it goes everywhere. And so I go to one of the people there and the servant, I said, hey man, I'm sorry. My son knocked over this water. Can I get a mop? What I meant was, can you give me the mop and let me mop this up? So, because it wasn't just I could dab it up with a few paper towels. So he's like, yeah, no problem. So he goes in the back and he comes out and he just starts mopping. I said, please let me. He says, sir, this is my job. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. You know what our job is? To serve. Yeah. Jesus called us to serve. What did he do?
Oh, absolutely served.
He served.
Washed feet. He met people's needs.
Yeah.
He did not want to be tended to.
Right. Right. And if you think about serving, he came to serve, not to be served. And this is God in the flesh. Right. And I've got to be willing to serve people. So let's just recap real quick. Number one, God before the world.
Mhm.
Number 2, find somebody to encourage. Number 3, serve. Number 4, replace all complaining with gratitude. I love the song Gratitude. And you know what I love the most about hearing that song are the little kids around me singing it.
They can sing it, can't they?
They can. And kids sometimes struggle with gratitude. They get a new toy and they're very thankful, but when that new toy wears out, they want the next one.
That's right.
But as adults, we're saying we struggle with being thankful. You know, I always challenge people every year. I need to do it not during Thanksgiving. That is a great time to do it during the month of November, but I'm going to challenge you. Maybe you need this today. Instead of, say your prayers, but instead of asking God for all the things we ask Him for, let's thank Him for all the things He's given. Let's spend the entire prayer in gratitude. Maybe you sit around the table with your children. I hope you do. I hope you have family time like that. But instead of asking them, again, it's important to know how their day is and all that, but ask them what they're thankful for. You know, gratitude is so critical. In fact, God made us to be thankful people. But instead, the world is saying be expectful. Expect these things. And then my 5th thing would be, at the end of the day, end it with reflection. I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. I love to do this with my own family. Where did I see God today? If you'll start, it's a very simple devotional. It's a very simple thing to do. You do it with your wife. You can do it with someone down the street. It doesn't matter. But just get up every day and say, hey, at the end of the day, we're going to ask ourselves, how did we see God today? Well, one thing it does is it puts us in a mindset of seeing God and looking for God. Then you might ask yourself, well, where did I fall short? And then follow that up with, how can I correct that tomorrow? Again, that's 5 simple things. I know that took a little time and such, but it's 5. You want some practical stuff. That's it. If you do those 5 things every day, you know what you're going to have? You're going to have a win. It's going to be a win. I can't promise you Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but I can promise you that day you're going to have a win. But if you get up and do it the next day, you're going to have some wins as well.
Do you think, out of the 2 of these, do you think that successful people are more apt to become disciplined, or do you think that disciplined people are more apt to become successful?
I think number 2.
I think number 2, absolutely. So you can't say to yourself, like, you know what? I'm going to get it all together. I'm going to be successful, and then I'm going to find discipline. Then I'm going to become disciplined. It is the disciplined people that more times than not are the ones that become successful. And that's like, you think of that in terms of business. Like I'm just going to be disciplined in my life, and it's going to lead to some good opportunities, and I'm going to continue to be disciplined. I'm going to be ready for them. When those opportunities present themselves, it's going to help lead me to be successful. I think that's the same thing spiritually. Is that we become disciplined. And those 5 things that you talk about of winning, of getting up first and putting God before the world and ending our day with reflection, if we become disciplined in those things, then they become a part of our everyday life. And when they become part of our everyday life, yes, they become routine. And I don't mean in a way to where it's just, I was just doing this, checking boxes, but they become a part of us. It becomes easy to do it instead of, trying to find time to spend 5 minutes in Psalm 23.
Right.
It's I'm building my schedule around God. I'm building my schedule around Psalm 23.
That's winning.
That is winning. Ultimately to wrap this up, close this, I heard this story recently. It's by our head of school at Noble Christian, sitting through some teacher in-service on Monday, and I'm stealing it. Because it was a good one. In podcasts before, in sermons before, in devotionals before, you've talked about Derek Redmond and the way that he finished the 92 Olympics, where he tore his hamstring and he got up and his father ran. You talk about cloud of witnesses, right? His father ran out of those stands and carried him across the finish line, fighting through security.
That touches my heart right now.
I'm telling you, chills thinking about it. There's another one. Okay, there's another story like this, and I'm going to look down at my phone a little bit before this because I don't want to forget. But it was the 1968 Olympics. It was held in Mexico City. It was John Stephen Akwari. Okay, this guy's from Tanzania. And listen, I just watched a lot and kept up with the World Cup that recently happened. Okay. I heard folks talking about, since there were sites in Canada where stadiums they were playing in. They were playing in like Seattle and New York, Atlanta, around maybe in Texas too, I think, here in the United States, and then down in Mexico City. And they talked about how Mexico had such a home field advantage because of the altitude. And we talk about Denver, Colorado being Mile High Stadium. It's a mile above sea level, 5,280 feet. Well, Mexico City sits at like 7,350 feet above sea level. So it's not quite, but it's trending to 1.5 miles above sea level. Wow. And now we're talking about Olympians, the best athletes in the world running long distance races, quitting, falling out, cramping, dehydration. Okay. Well, John Stephen Akwari from Tanzania was running the Olympic marathon, 26.2 miles. During the race, he fell and seriously injured his knee and ankle. Laid there for a few minutes, helpless. But instead of walking off and quitting and just saying, look, I gave it my best shot. I just didn't have enough today. I'm hurt. I'm done. He gets up. And whatever, if he could jog, if he could hop, if he could crawl, limp, whatever it was, he started to finish his race. Now, it was 1.5 hours later. The winners have already won. They crossed the finish line. They've done the medal ceremony. Wow. There were only a few people left in the stands. And here he comes around the curve to finish his race 1.5 hours later. And now he finished in last of the ones that finished the race. Sure. They interviewed him later on and asked him why he finished the race in that condition. And he said that Tanzania sent him 5,000 miles, not to start a race, but to finish the race. And I think that sums, it probably sums all of us up, spiritually speaking, is that we are going to get knocked down. We're going to fall. We're going to have bad days. We may self-sabotage ourselves from time to time. But God is always the one that is extending grace, that is waiting for us at the finish line. And he does not say ever in Scripture that you have to be first across the finish line. He doesn't say when you're crossing the finish line you have to be sprinting. He doesn't say you have to be in perfect health. He says, I want you, I want you whichever way you come, but I want you to cross that finish line. And I think that is such a great reminder to us, is that individually we need to give every bit of our effort to crossing that finish line. But then also when we think collectively in our community and striving to build each other up, we need to remember we're not building our own kingdoms. We're helping build God's kingdom. We're striving to help further the borders of his kingdom. So we need to, like you said, but also to kind of reiterate, and more of an encouragement / challenge for us this week, is to celebrate with someone. That's right. Celebrate the success of someone. Man, because if it's somebody that's a part of God's family and they're successful, man, we're all successful.
And I just want to comment on that. I knew you were coming to that point. In 2008, I remember where I was. We had a 1-year-old child.
My word.
I know. It's been a minute ago. But Michael Phelps was in that Olympics. And I'm not here to say Michael Phelps, some could say, well, he's this, he's that. Yeah. But in 2008, he had won 7 gold medals, which tied Mark Spitz's record from 1972. And so he's in the 4x100 to be a part of that team to break it. And I remember when he was on that last leg, we were so into it that I stood up and I was just, come on. I don't know.
He heard you.
He heard me. He set the world record too. But I don't know Michael Phelps. But he represented the United States of America. He was breaking a world record. And I got up off my seat at my house to cheer him on. What if we got up off our pews to cheer somebody on?
Cheer people that we know.
Yes,
that
that we love.
right? Yeah.
Why would we not do that?
Yeah.
That's what Justin and I are doing today. We are cheering you on. We want you to win. And that's what he's talking about with encouraging. Get up off our seats. Call somebody. Encourage somebody. Love somebody. Hug somebody. Let them know how proud you are.
Man. It's all about living beyond Sunday. It's taking what we learn. It's taking what we experience when we come to serve the audience of one and taking that into our own personal lives to be better, but also to help spread the message of Jesus Christ to a lost and dying world.
Right.
That is ultimately what it is. And if we truly, as Christians, look at ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, I am about the cause for Christ, then I'm going to take what I learn in any and every situation, and I'm going to try to continue to expand the borders of God's kingdom.
Exactly.
That's what Living Beyond Sunday is all about. We appreciate you guys for tuning in this week. We love you. Please, hey, accept the challenge. We're going to accept the challenge ourselves. Right. Let's live beyond Sunday. Let's encourage people, and let's just bring more people along this journey because, hey, let's all cross that finish line together.
That's right. Thank you.